Guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my craft room. This is my WiP It Wednesday video where I show you whatever I've been working on in the craft room, whether it's cleaning, organizing, crafting, just a couple little stitches, or I've worked a lot. I feel like I've dabbled this week, so let me show you what I got into. I am still working on the dessert bags, the little tote bags. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. They all basically have the same fabrics, just different locations and different cuts from the prints. But this is how they're going to look. So I've got the 5 of them stitched up for the outside of the bags. I have the linings cut for 5 bags. I have the handles cut for 5 bags. I've actually gone ahead and stitched 2 of them. I've decided on this one because can you see my stitching at all? It's hard when we're dealing with black. These have 4 lines of stitching. I was only going for 3, but when I went to put the 3rd one in, I didn't have my needle in the right position, so it didn't go down the center. It was a little off the side. So this one has 4. I'll probably stick with 3 for the rest of them because I think 3 is going to be sturdy enough, and it saves time and thread if you only put 3 on. But 4 is nice too, and I like the way that looks. I would probably go for 4 if I was doing maybe something more along the lines of a denim tote, something stronger versus the quilted ones. But I have them all pressed. I have all my batting cut to go inside. I just have to do all the top stitching on them. I just ran out of time. I also have pockets for all of them. I'm trying to do something. I remember there's some weird technique that you can stitch the 2 of these together, and then when you flip it out, it'll have this be on the border of them. So that's what I'm going to play with. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. If it doesn't work out, I'll just add borders on these to make it larger, so that way I can use these as the pockets. But I think a little 5-inch charm square is just not quite big enough for a pocket. I like to have it a little bit, at least a little bit wider, if not a little bit deeper would be nice too. So I'm going to play with that and see how that works out. It was a little technique. I remember just doing that several years ago when I was really making a lot of tote bags. I just don't quite remember exactly how it works. It might be just that you get, when you're done, you have a border on the top with it. But we'll see. I'll figure something out. That's the whole point of having fabric and working on your own designs. You can just kind of wing it and figure it out and play and see what happens. I've been continuing with my 1 dishcloth a week, so I am using up my scraps right now. I finished up the purple and now I'm going into the orange, so this one is finished. And then I started on to the next one. And what I did with all the scraps left over from this style of yarn, I just rolled them all up into a ball, and I put them kind of in an order that I thought it would look good. Like I thought the orange would look good next to the purple, and then this black would go good with the orange. And then I just started knitting on the next one. You can see I have some of this bright green, the neon green, sticking in there because of course green would look nice next to the black. And if it's still part of the orange one, green goes with orange. You know how it goes. It's just scraps. It's going to all work out fine because basically it's all from the same type of yarn. It has all of this little light colors. It's not, some of it looks a little bit white, but I think a lot of it is mostly just a pale version of the main color. So it comes out kind of spotchy, blotchy. Whatever, I like it. It's grungy. Now last week, I believe this is the thing that I forgot to show you guys. So I am still working on this cowl. I find that I'm kind of struggling with this one a little bit. You're just knitting round and round and round, so it's really simple and easy, right? But basically by the size of it, because it has 398 stitches on it and you're using a very small needle, I think I'm knitting these with a size 2 needle. It takes a while. It's like actually knitting a sweater. It's like knitting the bottom of a sweater. I'm going to be knitting this for, I believe, 14 inches because it's going to be a nice wraparound cowl that's really nice and squishy and stuff. And I don't have a problem. It's just one of those things that it feels like it's taking forever because you kind of mark your mileage when you're knitting by every time you come back around to your beginning stitch marker. Then you can feel the progress going. But when you have to knit so many stitches, it does take a while. And when you're only picking it up for 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, it does take a bit to get anywhere. But so in 2 weeks, I have shown a little bit of progress. I've gotten 4 rows done. So basically 2 rows a week. But this has been one of the things that I keep picking up and I fall asleep while knitting this. So I need to switch projects and do this at a time when I'm more coherent and awake during the day and not leaving it till late at night as the last thing I knit before I go to bed. Which is what the dishcloths are good for. I picked up Robbie's socks for a little bit this week also. Not for very long, just once again to put a few more rows on this. Any type of rows I'm adding to it is always going to be progress. And the more progress you do, eventually, even if you're only putting on a row a week, eventually you're going to get it finished because you're making forward momentum with it. So that's another one. It's knit, 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 but it just seems to be not the type of thing that I've been picking up lately. What I've really been wanting to do is hang out in the craft room and sew. But that's not always something that's an option because when I sew, I like to just sew. I don't like to always constantly be interrupted every 10-15 minutes. And I know life is an interruption and that's fine. But when I get that rhythm and I'm sewing, I like to sew for like 4 or 5 hours in a row and not stop. It just... When I'm knitting, I can pick up my knitting and put it down, no problem. Same thing with embroidery and with hand sewing. I can pick it up and put it down. But when I'm at that sewing machine, you get into that Zen rhythm and you just like to keep going and going and going. And it takes you a little bit to get started again. It's like, I don't know, like maybe pedaling a bike. You get started off slowly, and then the longer you're riding your bike, the faster you get going. And I kind of feel like that's the same way with me when I'm sewing. I start out nice and slow and finding my rhythm. The next thing I know, I can just push out that quilt or the projects really quick. So I try to save the sewing time for when I have big chunks of time that I can just push it out. So I've been working a lot on knitting projects. Now, I picked up a new one the other day, and this is actually just one day's work on it. It's a little bit bigger yarn, so bigger needles. It goes a lot quicker, and I've been having fun with it. So let me show you what that looks like. I am knitting this for my friend, the one I told you before that we're swapped a fabric for knitting and stuff. She sent this type of yarn. It's a nice, a light brown color. It's a very soft. This is a Wing and a Prayer Farm. It's in Vermont. It's 50% wool, 50% alpaca. So no wonder why it's nice and soft and fun to work with. That would explain why I've been enjoying picking it up and working on this one solely. This is going to be the Taproot Cowl. This is what it looks like when it's all out, and then when you scrunch it up around your neck. You'll be able to find this listed in my Ravelry page. I have not put any pictures in because I just started it. I didn't put any yarn or anything. I just wanted to put it in so that I had a place marker to show you guys which pattern I'm working on. And this is as far as I've gotten so far. When you're working on this, you're starting up here at the top, so I'm not going to get to any of the fun lace till I get down to the bottom. This is the old shale pattern. And it's also called Feather and Fan. It's one of my favorite designs. I just love the way it has the little waves. You get a little bit of lace work, but it's really a no-brainer, and it's very simple for a beginner to do. So since this is wool and alpaca, this is going to need to have a little bit of a soak when it's all done and blocked. And can you see how it's got these little blurps going down here? You can kind of see it here in the pattern. Just in case you were wondering, that's just the way the pattern is written, and you're doing a purl front and into the back, so it kind of makes it, it almost throws in like a little knit stitch in there, so it has this little bit of a blurb, and that's just part of their design that they added into it. I think if I was knitting this for myself, I would go ahead and omit that, and I would do my increases on the knit rows so it wouldn't be that noticeable. But then again, maybe it is noticeable also on the knit rows, and that's why they put it there. I don't know. But what I like is when you're doing a purl row in the middle of some knit rows, it causes the pattern to fold over like this, which is really good if you want a double fold brim for a hat. But once this is blocked out, it's going to lay nice and flat, so it won't be a problem. But I just thought I'd show you that little feature while it's sitting here like this, that's how you do a double fold brim. You knit your brim on a hat, you throw in a purl row, and then you knit the brim again, and then it does this. And it gives you that extra warmth around your head and your forehead and your ears that you're looking for in a hat. So as you can see, I just worked on this yesterday. I actually started it the night before and had to pull it out, and so started it again yesterday. So this is just one afternoon of knitting. This one's going to go really quick. I've been enjoying it. It's been nice to have something that is actually showing quick progress and working its way through. And in case you're wondering, this is just a little knit counter. This was sent to me by a different friend. Now, isn't this wonderful? And then you could just sit here and it counts your rows for you. And what I just noticed is really kind of neat is this has been sitting overnight in the off position, and when I turned it back on, it still showed what row I was on for here. It's okay if I change it, it's no big deal. I'm on the last row. I'm doing row 8, which is all the purls, so then I go back to row 1 anyway. So yep, this just sits on your finger like this. I thought it was going to be a problem as I was knitting, but it doesn't add any weight. It does add a little shaky jingle sound to it, which I like. And it's just right there, and you can just easily, as you're knitting, just go ahead and hit it with your thumb, and every time you're doing a row. So that's been saving me from having to stopping, putting down my knitting, writing it down, or using my phone. Because a lot of times I was reading the pattern on my phone, so to use my phone as a knit counter, a row counter, it just doesn't work. So these are really good. This one's by Red Heart. They have them. I've even seen them in AliExpress. You can buy these just about anywhere. So that's everything that I've been working on this week, but I want to show you a couple things that have come in the mail. Get everything put away nice and neat. See how nice and neat? Just jam it all in a bag. So I have a postcard this week. This one is from Nanaimo, British Columbia. Did I get that right? Nanaimo? It's always different how, like in the United States, you've got your different southern dialects and northern dialects. People over in, like, say, Seattle and California have a different accent than people in Vermont and stuff like that. So, of course, when you go into different countries, everything is said differently. We have a few Indian words down here in Florida because there was a lot of Indians here before it became a state. So a lot of our different places and rivers and such have Indian names, which are really kind of interesting to hear people who aren't familiar with them say, because you don't pronounce them as they look. So it's very misleading. So I'm always hesitant when I say someone's city, state, country name or whatever, just in case you don't want to be like insulting and say it wrong or anything like that. I also received this fun card last week or the week before, and I just forgot to show it to you, so I wanted to show you this now. When life hands you a pile. So I just thought this was hilarious. You usually hear about the bowl of cherries and the bowl of lemons and lemonade and all that stuff, but this is what you get here. Now I can't open it up and show you the inside because there's writing in it, but it says, when life hands you a pile, just smile and say, woohoo, fertilizer. Hang in there. So I thought that was really kind of cool. I kind of like the rednecky of it. So I thought this was a really fun card, a little bit different than what you normally get, and it definitely brought a smile to my face. I received a little package. Now, I'm always very appreciative when you guys send things. Nobody needs to send anything at all, but when you do, I want to say thank you so much. I don't show everything that comes into the craft room. If someone sends me a fat quarter of fabric or something, I prefer to keep that between the two of us, and I thank everyone personally through emails and stuff like that. But if you send me a handmade gift, I'm going to always show it off on the podcast, on the video here, because I think it's very important to show, everyone's hard work and what they sent. Now my daughter, she just thought this was the greatest thing. This is a pair of kind of khaki, almost denim-y pants. So it's from the leg of a pants. She said her husband had put a hole in it, I believe she said. So she went ahead and turned it into this little basket. This is a nice sturdy fabric on the inside. I know it's kind of hard to see, but because when you make things so well, you can go ahead and flip them inside out, right side up, doesn't matter, whichever works for you, and they're totally reversible. It's a great little basket to go ahead and store some fabric in, some fat quarters or scraps or anything like that. Or, it's kind of big, but you can throw some candy in there too, right? And with that also came this awesome pair of socks. A nice little pair of shorty socks. This looks like the Roll City Roll pattern. They're hand knit in this fun autumn type colored yarn. It has, where is it? It has this nice little lace detail. You see how that shows up? There you go. It has this fun little lace detail. It's kind of hard to show it because of the color of the yarn, but it's there. It's a really sweet little lace detail. And she did a really awesome job because without even knowing my shoe size, she went ahead and made me a pair of socks that fit wonderfully. There, can you see that little bit lace detail there? It adds a nice little bit of texture to it and everything. So I love these. I'm going to be wearing these definitely this winter. These are a little bit shorter than I make my knit socks, which is perfectly fine. I love these because I'm going to test these out and see if I like it this short. I normally knit mine a little bit further up. So it's going to be interesting to see if I like them like this, because if I do, when I knit my socks, I won't have to knit as far up. I can just go ahead and make this little roll here. As long as they stay up on my foot, that's all that matters to me, and I'm happy. This is a very popular design, so I have no doubts that this is going to stay up on my foot and not be an issue at all. See how it just has this extra, and if you just do knit, 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 it just kind of naturally will roll down. And the other handmade item I received, this is from Sin. Thank you very much. She saw that when I was working, I was showing off the Christmas swap string quilt block set I'd done in a swap a few years ago, and I was talking about how I needed an extra row for it. Well, she wanted to go ahead and make a block for me and send it in so I don't have to make, I believe I need 10 blocks, I said. I don't recall right now. So she decided to go ahead and make me one herself out of her scraps and send it to me, so now I have a part of you guys inside my swap quilt from one I worked on years ago. Now, I think it turned out completely awesome. She'd mentioned that it is a little bit different to sew on a foundation versus the paper. She normally does paper, but I think it turned out beautifully. I don't see any issues at all. It's going to fit into the quilt perfectly, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I love how she has a variety of fabrics. I really like this star one, and of course anything that has a little bit of bright color, and you can see looks like a Santa Claus kitty cat popping through here. Just a nice variety of fabrics, which is what you're looking for when you're doing a block like this. You're looking for something that has a good variety and it mixes it all up. So that's it for me this week. What have you guys been working on? Have you gotten any progress on your projects? Is anyone doing Christmas in July? I know we talked about that before, and most people are just too swamped during the summer. But maybe there are a couple of you out there that have time. So my plan for this week coming up is to finish those tote bags. And I have a couple other little pouch ideas that are floating around in my head. I have some that are patterns that I have. And I just kind of want to play with fabric. That's what I want to do right now. I go through phases. I want to play with yarn. I want to play with embroidery. Right now, I want to play with fabric. And I want to make little pouches, because if you're only making 1 or 2 of them, they are pretty quick. It's when you decide to make 5 tote bags that it kind of takes a while. So I hope you guys create with Scraptitude, and I'll see you next week. Bye.